The Quran invites us to see the world not as a silent, unthinking machine, but as a living, breathing testament to its creator. It speaks of a universe that is deeply aware and constantly engaged in a cosmic symphony of praise. Every part of creation, from the smallest atom to the vastness of the heavens, possesses a form of consciousness. They are not mere objects for human use. Instead, they are participants in a sacred reality. This vision asks us to listen closely to the world around us. We are encouraged to hear the whispers of the mountains and the songs of the trees. They are all signs, or ayat, pointing us toward a truth that is greater than ourselves. This perspective transforms our relationship with the natural world. It moves us from a position of dominance to one of humble participation. When we walk through a forest, we are not simply surrounded by wood and leaves. We are in the presence of beings that are in a state of perpetual prayer and submission to God. The rustling of leaves becomes a form of glorification. The flowing of a river becomes an act of worship. This understanding fills the universe with a profound sense of life and meaning. We begin to see that everything is connected in a vast web of existence, all returning to the same divine source. Imagine standing before a towering mountain range, its peaks reaching for the sky. The Quran teaches that these mountains are not just inert rock, they are alive with purpose and reverence. They praise God in a language we may not comprehend, but which is real nonetheless. They tremble in awe of the divine majesty. This imagery imbues the landscape with a spiritual presence. It suggests that the world is a sacred text, open to be read by those with hearts that are open to wonder. The physical world becomes a mirror, reflecting metaphysical truths, a gateway to understanding the unseen realities that lie behind the veil of the material. This vision of a living universe is a core element of the Quranic worldview. It is a call to awaken our spiritual senses. We are asked to look beyond the surface of things to perceive the inner life that animates all of creation. The world is not empty or void of meaning. It is filled with signs for those who reflect. The bee, the ant, the sun, and the moon are all presented as communities and entities with their own purpose and form of submission. By recognizing this, we are drawn into a deeper relationship with both the Creator and His creation, fostering a sense of responsibility and stewardship for the earth we inhabit. The Quran is rich with verses that give voice to this sentient cosmos. One of the most powerful is found in Surah Al-Isra, which declares, "The seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them glorify Him, and there is nothing that does not glorify Him with His praise, but you do not understand their glorification." That's chapter 17, verse 44. This verse is a profound statement about the nature of reality. It asserts that glorification, or tasbih, is a universal activity. Every single thing, seen and unseen, is engaged in this constant act of praise. It is a continuous living prayer that fills the entire universe. Our inability to understand it does not negate its existence. It only points to the limits of our own perception. Another remarkable passage appears in Surah Fussilat. Here, the Quran describes the very act of creation as a dialogue. God turns to the heaven while it was smoke, and says to it and to the earth, "Come willingly or unwillingly." They both replied, "We come willingly." That's chapter 41, verse 11. This is not a metaphor in the ordinary sense. It portrays the sky and the earth as conscious beings with will and agency. They are able to receive a command and to respond with obedience. This verse paints a picture of a cooperative and responsive universe, one that participates in its own becoming. The creation is not a passive recipient of divine action, but an active partner in the cosmic unfolding. The earth itself is shown to have memory and a voice in Surah Al-Zalzala. On the day of judgment, the earth will be shaken by a great earthquake. The Quran tells us that on that day, she will narrate her news, for her Lord has inspired her. That's chapter 99, verses 4 and 5. The earth will bear witness to all the deeds, good and bad, that were performed upon its surface. It will speak its testimony, revealing the hidden histories of humanity. This gives the very ground beneath our feet a profound moral and spiritual dimension. It is not just soil and rock, it is a living witness, a keeper of records, imbued with a sacred duty by its Lord. These verses, taken together, present a coherent and powerful vision. They show us a world where mountains, trees, birds, and even the sky and earth are not silent objects. They are living entities with a form of awareness, purpose, and communication. They are constantly glorifying their Creator, responding to divine commands, and bearing witness to the events that unfold within them. The Quran asks us to tune into this reality, to see the world not as a collection of resources to be exploited, but as a community of beings with whom we share a common origin and destiny. This perspective is a foundation for a truly Islamic environmental ethic. Classical Islamic scholars have long contemplated the meaning of these verses. Commentators like Imam al-Tabari and Fakhr al-Din al-Razi discussed at length whether this praise from nature was literal or metaphorical. Many concluded that it is indeed a literal reality, a true form of consciousness and speech appropriate to each creature's form of existence. They argued that just because we cannot understand the language of the birds or the praise of the mountains does not mean it is not real. It is a mystery known to God. This traditional understanding affirms that the universe is saturated with life and awareness, far beyond what our physical senses can detect. This ancient wisdom finds surprising echoes in some modern scientific and philosophical ideas. The concept of panpsychism, for example, suggests that consciousness is a fundamental and ubiquitous feature of the universe. It proposes that mind or a mind-like aspect is present in all things, down to the level of elementary particles. While different from the Quranic view in its details and theological framework, it shares the core intuition that the cosmos is not devoid of interiority or awareness. Both perspectives challenge the modern assumption that consciousness is an accidental byproduct of complex brains. They both point toward a more integrated and living reality. Furthermore, fields like quantum biology are beginning to explore processes in living organisms that seem to defy classical physics. Phenomena like photosynthesis and bird navigation may rely on quantum effects, suggesting a hidden layer of reality connecting life and the fundamental laws of the cosmos. This does not prove the Quran's statements, but it does open our minds to the possibility that nature is far more mysterious and interconnected than we once thought. It hints at a world where life is woven into the very fabric of the universe, resonating with the Quranic theme of a cosmos that is alive and responsive to its creator. When we compare these perspectives, we see a fascinating dialogue between faith and reason, tradition and modernity. The classical tafsir provides a spiritual certainty rooted in revelation, affirming that nature's praise is a sacred truth. Modern ideas like panpsychism and quantum biology, on the other hand, arrive at a similar sense of wonder through scientific inquiry and philosophical reflection. They approach the mystery from a different angle but can lead to a similar conclusion. The world is more than just matter. It is filled with a deep, intrinsic life and meaning that invites our contemplation and respect. Embracing the Quran's vision of a living universe has profound implications for how we live our lives today. It calls us to cultivate a state of spiritual awareness, to see the world with the eye of the heart. This means recognizing that our actions have consequences not just for ourselves and other humans, but for the entire web of creation. When we pollute a river, we are not just harming an ecosystem, we are silencing a creature that is in a state of praise. When we cut down a forest needlessly, we are disrupting a community of beings engaged in worship. This understanding fosters a deep sense of environmental spirituality and ethical responsibility. This perspective offers a powerful antidote to the alienation and meaninglessness that can arise from a purely materialistic worldview. If the universe is nothing more than a random collection of particles, then human life can feel small and insignificant. But if the universe is a living, breathing symphony of praise, then our lives become part of that sacred music. Our own prayers and acts of remembrance join the chorus of the mountains, the oceans, and the stars. We find our place not as masters of a dead world, but as humble participants in a cosmos that is vibrantly alive and directed toward God. Seeing the world as full of life and purpose can also be a source of immense comfort and solace. In moments of loneliness or despair, we can remember that we are surrounded by a creation that is constantly glorifying the divine. The steady presence of a mountain, the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind, or the silent turning of the stars can become reminders of God's constant presence and mercy. Nature becomes a sanctuary, a place where we can reconnect with the sacred and find peace. It is a living book, filled with signs of hope and reassurance for those who are willing to read it. Ultimately, the Quran's portrayal of whispering mountains and sentient skies is an invitation. It is an invitation to see beyond the surface, to listen beyond the silence, and to experience the world as a sacred place filled with wonder and meaning. It asks us to re-enchant our perception of reality, to recognize the life that flows through all things, and to join our voices with the universal symphony of praise. By accepting this invitation, we not only deepen our connection to God, but also heal our relationship with the earth, learning to walk upon it with the reverence and gratitude it deserves.